Okay, so let's go over the pieces you will need to make the stand if you would like to make it. So I'm using a heavyweight chipboard. It's about 1/8 of an inch wide. It's basically two small, like two thin pieces of chipboard glued together. So the first piece, the base, is going to be 12 by 6. The two shorter sides are 1.5 by 6. And then the two longer sides are 1.5 by 11 3/4 because they're going to sit in between the two shorter sides. Okay, so those are your chipboard pieces. You will also need a whole whack of hinges. All of the hinges are 1 3/4 inches wide. No, 1.5 inches wide. Sorry, 1.5 inches wide. So you are going to need 6 that are 12 by 1.5. And now some of these you're probably going to need to trim. I'm just doing them all long, and then if we need to trim any as we go, we can do that. Better to be too long than too short. And then you'll also need 6 pieces that measure 1.5 by 6. Now, all of these, I've already done this just to save some time. I've put Tyvek on each one of these and then the score tape over top. If you don't have Tyvek, not a problem. It's just an extra thing. It's not absolutely necessary. But if you can cut them all and get them to this point, put the score tape on them. And they're all scored. Every one of the hinges is scored at half lengthwise. So right down the center there. Well, it's I mean halfway. It's 3/4. 3/4 is the score mark because it's 1.5 wide. So 3/4 down every single one of them. And then you will also need 8 little 1.5 by 1 3/4 inch, and these are going to go in the corners. So and some of these will need to be trimmed. The ones on the inside will need to trim. So we're going to dry fit them as we go and make sure they all fit properly. So those are all your materials that you will need. So 1.5 by 1 3/4, 8 of them. 1.5 by 6, 6 of them. 1.5 by 12, 6 of those. 2 shorter pieces that are 6 by 1 3/4. 2 that are 12 by 1 3/4, and the base, which is 12 by 6. Okay, so now we're going to start putting it all together. So starting with the short sides first, take one of your hinges. Okay, remove the score tape backing from half of one of the 6-inch hinges, and you are going to adhere it to the very edge of one of your 6-inch pieces, just like that, and then take off the other half of the backing. And now put it right on the edge here. So you're, I hope you can see that, you're lining up the 2 pieces of chipboard. Okay, right on the edge. I have to do it when it's down. It's easier for me. Okay, so there is one. Let's do the other one. Oh, I should have creased this first, my bad. Okay, so this one's going on this side. There we go. Now the two long sides. And we'll need to trim that tiny little 1/4 inch from the edge here. Okay, remove the rest of the score tape backing. Okay, and this goes right in between the two shorter end pieces. It should fit just perfectly in between them. Excellent. Now do the other one, the other side. Right to the edge, trim off that little extra bit. Okay, and now this is going to go on this side. Okay, now we are going to do the 4 little corner edges here, and then we'll do the outside pieces. Okay, so now these ones will need to be trimmed just a smidge here. Okay. Okay, so dry fit it and then take the score tape backing off. Okay, and then make sure these are aligned together and just push it into the corner. Just like that. So there's your first one. If you can see that in there. And just continue to do that all the way around. Dry fit, remove your score tape, and then put it on. Okay, here's the third corner. And then do the last one. Okay, last corner. All right, now we can do the outside edges. So we'll do the 2 shorter ones first. Okay, so they're just gonna sit right there. I know it's hard to see, but right there. So remove the backing. Okay, and then the other side. Okay, and the 2 longer sides. Now these you might have to, oh no, these will be perfect. The inside ones you might have to trim just a smidge. Oops. Okay, and then do this other side. Awesome, and now we will, first we're going to, just to cover the edges of these rough edges at the top, I'm going to put strips along each of them as well. Now these will need to be trimmed just a little bit, so kind of dry fit them. So I'm just trimming off about around 1/8 of an inch, maybe a bit more. You'll have to kind of measure it yourself and just trim a little bit off. There's one. This just gives it a little bit of a cleaner look. And now to make it an actual stand, you'll probably want some like feet. So I haven't done it yet. I'm going to go to the hardware store and this afternoon and find some, I'm just going to use some kitchen cabinet hardware. But you can also, I know Prima, I think, makes feet, so does Tim Holtz, so there's lots of options out there. I'm going to see what I can come up with from the hardware store. And if these are slightly too short, it's not a big deal because you're going to have the corner bits that will cover up part of it anyway. So I just cut a little bit too much off of that one. Okay, so our last two long pieces. So it's a really easy thing to put together, and then it makes it so that the album's kind of a showpiece and it can sit on a shelf facing forward instead of being on a bookshelf where you just see the spine. Okay. Now we just want to put our last 4 little bits on the outside edges here. And then we can add pattern paper to it. I suppose you could have put the corners on before the sides. I guess it's your personal preference on how you want it to look. Most of it's going to be covered up anyway. And we're almost done. Alright, so just go over everything with your bone folder. Just make sure everything's really creased down and adhered really well. And there's your stand, basically. So your album, I mean, we just have to put, I still have to go get some knobs or some kind of feet and put those on the bottom. And then we'll decorate. And your album will sit right in there. Okay, so there's a little wiggle room, so if you do add pictures and everything and it expands a little bit, no problemo. There's a little wiggle room there. And yeah, that is it. So I'm gonna go get my knobs and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the stand is almost complete. I'll show you what I've done so far. So got some green on the inside. I actually ran out of paper from the collection, so I just had to put some just plain cardstock on the front and just did some like little square pattern all around the side. The back I've left blank. Okay, and so these are what I got from the hardware store. They're literally just their kitchen cabinet knobs, and then I just punched holes through the base and screwed them on. So now I'm just going to put the last two little pieces of paper. I've got the bottom part is just that same purple cardstock. I didn't have any, I've just got scraps left. I don't have any pieces of paper that are big enough to cover it. So I'm sure you've found that by now, that you're probably out of paper as well. Okay, so put this down in the bottom, should fit perfectly in there. Press that down. And then I was just going to add the signature piece to the inside. I might do a couple little bits on the sides there. Oh, if I can get this back up. Okay, so that is the Fairy Dust mini album tutorial, the not so mini album. I hope that you have had an amazing time with me doing this together, and there's just the, you know, the little bits and pieces that need to be finished, any further embellishing that you would like to do, and that's all there is to it. So I hope you enjoyed everything, and we'll see you again soon. Bye! Big hugs, guys.